So like I said, Spider-Man 2 was the first Spider-Man movie I really got into. I like this movie, and that's it. This movie has the reputation now of being like one of the best comic book movies ever, one of the best sequels of all time.
That's a good sequel.
I don't really see that. I don't see it as like a history-defining blockbuster or movie in any way.
Well, compared to the first one, the history-making aspect of it is not there.
I mean, not even just a place and hit, but like people talk about this movie like Spider-Man 2 is the benchmark to pass if you're making a comic book movie now. And I don't really see that. And to me, thematic stuff and like acting I think is improved. Everything technically is a marked improvement over the first movie. I think it looks a lot better, it sounds a lot better, the acting is a step up, the directing is a step up too, the effects are a step up. It was based, most of it, from what I know, was based on the draft by Michael Chabon, who wrote The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, which I have right here. This book right here, which won the Pulitzer Prize. So the guy knows how to write, and they took his draft, and I read like a long extended like breakdown of his draft, and a lot of it is the same stuff, and I've read the first few pages and kind of skipped around, and structurally it's very similar. There are some differences. There's a younger Doc Ock who has a romantic relationship with Mary Jane, and that kind of becomes a love triangle. And Peter loses his powers because Doc Ock gives him this inhibitor chip that he injects in himself, and that's why he loses his powers. He wants to lose his powers,
which makes
kind of thing.
A bit more sense in the
but
original.
then you take Spider-Man 2, when you consider that as the origin of that plot line, and then you look at Spider-Man 2, there's no real reason for him to lose his powers, and they just kind of say it's psychosomatic because that's just catch-all for, like, we don't need to explain it.
He feels sad.
He's sad, so his DNA changes. I don't know. It makes sense,
He's
I guess.
Stressed. When spiders get stressed, they do not spider things.
Yeah, in terms of... it makes sense. I'm not saying it's, like, it's dumb or it doesn't make sense. Like, in terms of what they're doing with the character and with the story, it makes sense. But when you consider kind of something like that, where you could have had him wanting to maybe actively not be Spider-Man, then again, that's not really in his character. So it's just the story is definitely not structured like your traditional superhero movie or traditional superhero sequel at all. Like, especially when you consider like where the climax is and where it ends. Like the big main final fight happens before the actual ending, and then you have kind of the culmination of all the emotional stuff that ties it up. Because the big fight is the subway fight, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. That sequence is legitimately incredible in every way. That's probably the best. I know I said like the best fight is in Spider-Man 1 at the end, but the best sequence as a whole is the subway fight.
It's the first one that the really good fight scenes at the end. The second one is more so towards the middle-ish.
And the third one, the really good fight scene is when Peter smacks Mary Jane in the club. I don't like Mary Jane in this movie. I don't.
The second one?
The second one, yeah. Spider-Man 2. I don't like her in this movie. But I especially don't like their relationship. I don't like Mary Jane more, and I don't like her and Peter's... Because...
Just like, date me or I'm going to marry another man.
Well, the thing about Mary Jane and Spider-Man 2, it makes sense the way their relationship sort of goes in this arc. Like, Spider-Man was between them, that secret was between them, and when that goes away, they can be together, and she makes the choice to be with him. Yes. I like that aspect of it. But when every time Peter and Mary Jane interact, it's just so grating and so boring. Like, I don't care. I find myself just not caring about what they're saying. Peter wants her back, but every time he has an opportunity to get her and really make his feelings clear, he brushes it off or puts it aside. I don't buy their relationship in this. I don't buy the progression of it. I don't buy them as a couple.
Buy a relationship. That's prostitution, stupid.
Why are you like this? It's why every time.
It's not real.
All I'm trying to do is
not love.
You would know. There's no mic there. The thing about the modern era of comic book movies is that sequels don't often feel like continuity between each other, especially the Marvel movies, because the characters are going back and forth so much in different stories with different people. They're pretty much just a series of sequels to the last movie. It's like a TV series. So it was kind of nice to come back to this movie and have it just be like one movie and then the next movie, and that's all you need to worry about. And you follow these characters more, like the side characters populate the world more. I like Mr. Dickovich. I like his daughter Ursula. Like they're a lot of fun.
The side characters.
Yeah, like the side characters are a lot of fun. They humanize the world a lot, and you don't get that a lot anymore because it's so focused. Like modern comic book movies are so focused on the heroes and their journey, and they have a couple side characters here and there.
I want a movie of Mr. Dickovich.
Yeah, Mr. Dickovich spinoff. He was a spy in the Cold War.
That'd be so cool.
Did you know, back when Sony was still making the Amazing Spider-Man movies, they were going to make an Aunt May spinoff where she was a spy in the 60s? Did you know that was going to be a real movie?
Really?
Yeah. That was
badass? Hell nah.
Okay. God damn it. With such a straightforward kind of approach and focus on these characters and expanding this story, the relationships between characters are more complex and more interesting. In the case of Mary Jane and Peter, I think it falls pretty flat. But with Peter and Harry, I like it a lot. I like that Harry has this resentment. I like that Harry kind of conflates Peter and Spider-Man into one person, and he kind of feels betrayed by everyone around him. So let's talk about Oxford Octopus, Doc Ock. Many people consider him to be the best comic book movie villain of all time.
I wouldn't say
next
all time,
to the Joker. Do you agree?
Okay. Joker, much better, obviously, because of the Heath Ledger
well, very different.
Very different. Dr. Octopus, I wouldn't say is the best comic book villain of all time in movies. I'd say out of the entire series, if you get rid of like actors portraying and kind of just think of the characters and the way they're set up, I'd say it is Dr. Octopus because in a way I feel like his motivation makes a bit more sense than the Green Goblin's, because as we were talking about,
they're both just crazy the thing.
The thing is, Dr. Octopus becomes crazy because of the AI.
Okay,
of the
here's
tentacles.
my issue with Doc Ock. I never had a problem with this as a kid because as a kid you don't think when you watch these things.
Yeah, I still don't think.
I know you liked Venom. So my modern day problem. The thing about Doc Ock's arms having AI is there's no reason for them to have AI, right? Why build that in? They should have a whole demonstration just for the arms, because those are incredible technological advancements.
I feel like he already did. Like, that probably already happened.
No, he unveils the arms for the first time to those people. So no, he didn't.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah. So
maybe mechanical arms are normal.
In this world, in this world, there are goblin men. Everyone has a goblin mask. Why do Doc Ock's arms have artificial intelligence? There's no real reason for them to.
I feel like it's kind of like driving a car, except you need to do other things besides drive the car at the same time. So you need the car to self-drive itself and be confident that its objective to self-drive itself will keep you safe and itself safe.
Okay.
So he's handling a sun, and I think he kind of realized he can't do it by himself.
The thing is, to me, the implication of showing the arms, I don't know every incarnation of Spider-Man. Generally, the arms are just a thing he can clip on. I've read the original 60s comics, so the arms in that are just a thing he attaches. He controls them with a thing in that. And then the explosion happens, the accident happens, and they get fused to his body in a way. That happens in this too. So generally, they're a thing he puts on himself, and then they fuse in. In this, they make a very clear point of showing that it links right in with his spine, his central nervous system. Mm-hmm. It links right in. I assumed, and it would make sense to me, that you could just say he was controlling it with his brain, and he's so brilliant he can have 6 arms working at once. That's a good way of showing he's advanced. But having them be AI, it's because there's no real reason for him to go crazy without, voices in his head. And it makes it the same thing as Green Goblin, where it's like an alternate personality thing. I don't know why the arms are so dead set on rebuilding the machine. I guess
it's because that's their main objective. Yeah. And that's all they are programmed to do. Right. Is to build this thing in any possible way.
I don't know. I just feel like they needed a reason for him to go crazy, and they couldn't just be like, he goes crazy because his brain got electrocuted or something like that. They thought that would be too simple. Yeah. So they're like, okay, so the arms are sentient. have a demonstration for the sentient arms you've made, not for your son. Your son is cool. It's renewable energy. That's all right. That's fun. You've made sentient arms. Do you have any idea what that could do for victims of paralysis or people, amputees, veterans? We want the sun.
The more sun means more arms.
Yeah.
Imagine a world of Dr. Octopus arms.
Did you notice that in this movie, in Spider-Man 1, in Spider-Man 2, and in Spider-Man 3, and in The Amazing Spider-Man, and in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, villains are formed by people, often father figures, with a personal connection to Peter Parker, who get involved in a scientific accident. Have you noticed that that is a recurring theme in every Spider-Man story?
Well,
It's interesting to see little things like that recur in Spider-Man movies, especially half the movies end with funerals. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 1, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 all end with funerals.
I did enjoy The Amazing Spider-Man 2 sticking to the comics and killing Gwen Stacy. I enjoyed that.
Oh, God.
I enjoyed that part of the movie.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is such a fascinating mess. It seems like it's not real.
It's my birthday. Now it's time for me to light my candles.
So Doc Ock's plan is basically just to rebuild the machine, and so he has to steal money. This is my other problem with the plan. He has to steal money to buy the materials to rebuild the machine. The timeline of this movie is presumably weeks, I guess, because they show him the beginning to when he starts building the machine is a pretty clear timeline, and then it's Peter stops being Spider-Man around the same time, so that's like, you presume weeks go by, or a week, or however long, between Peter stopping being Spider-Man and the machine being built.
Yes.
He went to rob the bank to get the money to buy this equipment. Where do you get the equipment from? Why not show him just stealing the equipment? You know? Why not have him steal the materials he needs?
Where in New York would they have the equipment? He has to buy them probably
Off
online.
where? Did he show up to places? If he did, they'd be like, hey, aren't you that octopus guy? You presume his picture would be everywhere.
Like black market kind of stuff, you know?
I mean, he does have, I'm guessing, a variety of trench coats with little pockets for his arms, which I love.
I am wondering where they go.
Yeah, where do they go? They take up a lot of space. The arms in
They're
general take
very
up so much
thick,
space.
meaty tentacles.
Okay. Yeah. I enjoy Peter Parker's arc in this, in general, where you kind of see the difficulty of being a superhero, which is something that definitely superhero movies don't tackle that much beyond, like, you cause a lot of damage, or some people think you're bad. But it's like the personal toll it takes on him. You see that in the beginning, where, you know, he can't balance being Peter Parker and being Spider-Man, and as his abilities start to go away, you know, they interfere with his life. Mm-hmm. So psychosomatically, his abilities start to go away, and he has an opportunity to be normal and be Peter Parker again. How was he making money during that time when he wasn't selling pictures of Spider-Man?
I think he was living off of those pictures of Spider-Man because he wasn't paying rent.
He never paid his rent.
He never paid his rent.
Consistently, he never pays rent.
Hi. Hi. What's hi? Can I spend it?
He had odd jobs, so he was probably saving up money from that.
It's not cheap to live in New York.
No, it's not.
It's not, so,
I mean, where he was living was probably cheap, and he was lucky enough to get a nice... He was nice. Landlord.
You know what I think? Spider porn. Spider porn.
Oh, God.
He sold videos of Spider-Man masked, doing crazy abilities, and having insane sex with random women. Insane. And he charged thousands of dollars for it. And that's how he stays afloat.
I can't prove you wrong.
You know who buys them all? J. Jonah Jameson. Every last DVD.
You've seen the deleted scene.
The best deleted scene in history.
Want me to look up the spider porn for you?
No.
I'm gonna do it.
No, God, don't.
I'm gonna show you what it looks like.
I don't want to see it.
I'm gonna show you. You have to see it. I'm not gonna show the audience. It's disgusting. But
Good. We'll get demonetized.
Incognito mode.
No, put it away. We're working.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Okay, what? Just show me. Just show me the thing. Show me. Oh, what the?
I know.
What is that?
It's disgusting.
Oh,
I know. Okay, out of that.
oh my God! What was that? Oh, God. Okay.
All right.
Some people need to be euthanized. You know. Some people just need to be put down in the street. Okay, Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Do it.
Any spider children he fathered by accident? Any spider bastards? He drowned them in the New York River.
I'm sorry.
Shh.
And they're just
This
like,
is a fun movie.
And they're just like, Daddy.
Weird, the women were yelling the same thing. Okay, do you think he webs? The train sequence is insanely cool. My one problem with this movie, I think in terms of that fight scene, is that as soon as Peter lands in front of Doc Ock and punches him one in the face...
Oh, he should have been knocked out.
That should have been it.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, too, about this movie. Doc Ock undergoes a lot of attacks and damage, and he gets thrown through the window of a bank into a taxi.
I could say the arms protect him there.
There's only so much trauma the human body can undergo. Like, the arms don't give him super strength.
I know the arms
Norman Osborn has the performance enhancers. He has super strength.
No, but the arms
Harry
can, like,
has
break
that.
his falls and
Sandman's
stuff.
made of sand. Venom has the symbiote. Doc Ock is just a dude. He's an out of shape Alfred Molina.
It's very true. He's probably bullied in high school.
It's a single Alfred Molina with robot arms against Spider-Man. And Spider-Man...
And he gets punched a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets punched in the face and, like, hit with web balls in the face and thrown around. The arms do block some damage and they drop it and they break his fall. But there's only so much the human body
Yeah, no, when
can
Spider-Man,
take.
like, punches him a lot. Like,
Impact would go through the arms,
Maybe
too.
that's why it takes place over the course of weeks, because he's just sitting in his, like, shed healing.
Well, I mean, you don't see him walk a lot after, so maybe he gets paralyzed, like, halfway through. Like, his legs stop working. I don't know. Doc Ock just doesn't really click as a villain for me now. I just think he looks cool, and the fights are cool, and that's about it. I just don't think he's a particularly interesting villain. The performance is great.
No,
Alfred
I thought the
Molina
performance
is
was
fantastic, but I just think as a character, he goes crazy, and that's his plan. I want to build a machine, and he doesn't build a machine.
Well, he does.
The villains aren't cartoonish. I mean, Green Goblin is cartoonish, but they feel a little more human and a little more three-dimensional than some modern comic book movie villains, like Malekith the Accursed or whatever. He's from Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, that's the one Marvel movie I've yet to see.
Don't. You're missing nothing. You have the love triangle with John Jameson, J. Jonah Jameson's son, and he's played by Daniel Gillies, who I know from The Vampire Diaries. He plays Elijah.
Would.
I know a lot about The Vampire Diaries. I think, if I'm not wrong, no, he first appears in Season 2, Episode 8, which is titled Rose. That's probably correct. I think that's correct. And if I'm right, that's just the kind of person I am. Like I said, I don't particularly care for Peter and Mary Jane's relationship, but it ends on a very nice note between them, with MJ kind of having some agency and deciding what she wants to do, even though her whole romantic arc in this movie with Peter and without Peter is really weird, where she talks to him initially and says, "I'm seeing someone," and he says, "Do you like him?" And she says, "Oh, kind of," and then within a week's span, they're engaged.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like maybe she was waiting for Peter to say he loves her, so I don't know.
Yeah, no,
that makes her kind of a monster in a way,
That's what
too.
I mentioned earlier. It's like, date me or I'm getting married. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know you like me. I know you do. I know you do.
I feel bad for John Jameson. The real victim here is the Jameson family, because they almost had...
They spent so much money on that wedding.
So much money. Poor Daniel Gillies. Oh, well, he fell back into the greatest TV show of all time, so it's just fine.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, final thoughts on Spider-Man 2. I think solid sequel. Not as good as the first one, but on par. Not significantly worse. Very enjoyable. Very watchable. Not too goofy. Not too many like little goofy things that like distract, except again for that one shot where the woman runs right at the camera and screams, which is fantastic in its own right. And I think leaves things on a very good note for a Spider-Man 3, like with Harry finding the Green Goblin lair and that kind of continuing his arc. That was like a fantastic setup, and it paid off in, well.
Wait. You said earlier like how you're wondering how Peter was making money.
Yeah.
How was Aunt May making money? Uncle Ben's dead.
Aunt May was doing the same thing.
Yes, she was.